Hello, everybody, and welcome to the fortress that goes by the name of the Deep Molten Chambers. It's a very deep fortress. First thing I would like to point out before we take a look at the fort at all is that there's a volcano over here in the corner with 5,000 goblins living on it. I just think that's really funny. But the fortress itself here was sent in by Neech over on the Discord. It has no mods, so I had no trouble loading it. I just wanted to say, if you would like to send in a fortress for me to have a peek at, you can do that via my Discord. Just simply upload the save directly to the Discord in a RAR file, or alternatively, in some other format. There are plenty of different locations to upload save files to, and then send them over. Give them a little pitch, and just let me know that it's okay to use it in a video. But we're going to dive in. This fortress, the Molten Chambers, is of the local site government, the Ashen Clasp, connected to the Wires of Kindness, a dwarven civilization. As we dive in, we can see that we have this tiny little entryway with two very well-appointed barracks, very nicely set up. We also have some space for chopped down trees and a dwarf that looks like they've seen better days. I think they just washed some blood off their clothing as they walked out. Then we have these two independent drawbridges, which are designed to lock and keep the fort safe. We have a small trading depot with some specific trading stockpiles, as well as, of course, plenty of space for military. I am assuming any invading forces that come in this way would just be completely obliterated almost immediately by the military here. Very well set up. Then, very quickly, you'll notice that they have harnessed this aquifer. They've set it up to be floodgateable in this spot here, so the water flow is pretty controlled, but on this lower layer down here, it is fully set up and allowing the water to flow freely into this area. We'll get to that in a bit. They've also harnessed it over here in the corner, which is powering about 3 or 4 wells on the way down. But first, I would just like to take a look at some of these bedrooms, because right next to these bedrooms, we have a guest, or 2 of them, in fact. Very interesting little critters. We have these necromancer experiments. There are 2 of them, and they, in fact, have siblings, which I think is kind of awesome. This one right here, they are a pair. They are a duo, if you will. Now, one of them is meditating on death. The other one is meditating on consolation. And let's have a real quick look at what they are, shall we? These are large 3-eyed humanoids. They have a pair of squat antennae and their eyes glow yellow. Their charcoal skin is wrinkled, and this night creature was first created by the dwarven necromancer Ezim Bolt Cudgels of Rampart sweltered after horrible experiments on the dwarf Erdim. So I want to know, are these members of the fortress permanently? Let's have a look. If we jump over to the unit screen, I can scroll down and we can see that, yes, these are members of the fortress. I love it when horrible necromancer experiments are able to integrate back into society. It's always so wholesome. So over here we have more bedrooms, and then we have permanent bedrooms for when you can't wake up anymore. And we have this lovely little set of stills and the first of many taverns. We have various crafting spots and locations over here, as well as a small minecart rail that is going the way down here to dispose of stuff from fishing, it looks like. So we have a space here that is designated for fishing with this little controlled waterfall here. Now, this is asking, I would say this is asking for trouble just because stuff could knock down these grates, but it's still kind of cool to see a specific fishing location. And then, of course, with the minecart for the funsies right there to transport stuff quickly over to the glass furnaces. As we move down another layer, we can see we have all this farming set up over here on the corner, as well as a very well-appointed hospital. I think this is something I'm going to start doing after my current fort ends, is I'm going to start making hospitals like this where they each have their own individual room. I just never thought about doing it, and it just looks so cool, and I really, really like it. Up here, we have a bunch of critters in cages. Some of these I'm pretty sure are dead. Specifically, like this Caviso is probably dead. This Drake's probably fine. This cow's probably dead. If they do not have access to grazing, they will just die. So just keep that in mind. Over here we have the farming setup. As I said, there's pigtails and various other things growing. On a layer further down, there's a well-appointed clothing industry, as well as you can see the water vents there still flowing. And then over here is this lovely large stockpile for various materials and crafting. And of course, the well keeps going. And then there are some dining halls. Now, these haven't been appointed to anybody specific. It feels like these are being prepared to be dedicated to a noble, but Also, they could just be dining halls. Then my favorite building, my favorite room in this entire fortress, which is this glorious, glorious, glorious pink home of boats, which is a little rock salt library. I just think it looks awesome. Like some of the colors that come out of this version of the game are just so nice, and that's one of my favorites. Then over here is possibly the coolest jail I think I've ever seen. Just this is the reason I took a look at this fort. Look at this jail. It's a multi-leveled space with a tower in the middle, with dogs patrolling, and the captain of the guard's quarters in the middle. So we have the captain of the guard living in the middle of the fort, in the middle of all of these bars, with all of these raised bars, and individual criminals will get locked in here. This is such a cool spot. The entryway, I actually didn't find it immediately. The first time I was looking at this fortress is via this temple room. So they have to be forced to march past all of their gods of choice in order to witness this glorious imprisonment that they will have. Close by is some very well-appointed bedrooms, probably just to favorite dwarves or potentially guests. It's kind of hard to say. But this is a very, very, very pretty set of bedrooms with yet another tavern at the bottom. Feels like kind of the main tavern, even though it's much less busy than the one that's further down. As we go down further, we eventually get to the drainage, which goes out this way and then dumps out into the caverns. I would never do this myself. I mean, I've done it in the past, but I would never recommend doing this myself. And the reason I wouldn't recommend using the caverns to dispose of water is it's going to cause a lot of physics disruptions and a lot of calculations, and it can be hard on your CPU. We're going to go a little further down here, and you'll very quickly notice that there is a second drain, which I'm not spotting immediately, but I'm sure I'll spot it eventually. There it is. So this is a second drain that drains that cavern layer into the lower one. If, you know, who doesn't like playing Dwarf Fortress in a slideshow? Am I right? But as we go down this central stairwell, we witness this lovely spot here. There's a big spot for wood of all varying underground varieties. And then down here, there's I think this is like the third or fourth barracks with a bunch of soldiers training in it. Of course, they would notice any cavern beasties that are creeping up towards the exit and very quickly dispose of them. And then as we go a little further down, there's an entrance into the third cavern layer, and there appears to be a dwarf stuck here who is drinking water without a well and starving to death. That's kind of horrifying. I'm sure that they'll be fine. As we go a little further down, eventually you'll notice that there is more obvious drainage here, and then a little tile going into the lava sea. So something that I would like to note, I'm not sure if they're using this for garbage because I hit Z key and I don't see a dump zone there, but if you're using this for garbage, I would make sure that this is 1 or 2 Z levels higher up above the lava than it currently is, because if something heavier gets thrown in there, it can actually cause some magma mist to spray back and immediately kill the dwarf. So just keep that in mind. Down here, we have our lava forges, as well as a bunch of beds. I'm assuming that's just a dormitory. It looks like it. A dormitory full of beds for the smiths who live in the basement. But overall, I think that this is a really cool fortress. Of course, there's always some things that you can improve and some things that you can change about a fortress. And there's always some things that I would do differently. And I'm sure that there's things that they are learning from with this fort. And perhaps there's something that you've learned here too. If you think that videos like this are interesting and you have a fort that you think I would enjoy having a peek at, which maybe has unique features like this little fishing zone, or alternatively, this lovely winding hallway, or maybe a multi-level prison, you can send it in on my Discord, like I said at the beginning of the video. And if you want to see more of me while I play video games on the internet, you can find me at twitch.tv/BLINDIRL, where I stream a whole lot of Dwarf Fortress Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays with bonus streams around the edges. And if you would like to just stick around with the YouTube side of things, well, over here, videos go up just about every day. So thank you very much for sticking around. I hope you enjoy the channel, and thank you very much for watching.